Zoom, he was able to attend, and so we're missing a couple members due to sickness and things, and Don brought cookies. So life is
his
good.
recipe.
You guys didn't think I made it, but okay.
Don, you're the best.
They're a little bit, a couple weeks old, about a week old.
It doesn't matter, cookies are cookies. Does anyone that needs a copy of the plan have it?
The plan itself?
The survey results.
Oh,
Oh, Dave says he can't hear it. Let me try again. Audio. Dave, can you hear us? Dave, can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear us now? Ours is working. Let me see if you can use his.
Okay.
Try rejoining. Okay, we'll see if we get everyone. Sorry, guys. Kim, if you want to start just going over the results, we'll like try to get Dave on. I'm sorry to put that on you. Thank you. I think it's nice of you to go in. So this is the Comprehensive Plan Committee Roundtable. We're just going over the results we got from Survey 2. We have over 300 responses collected. And we just got this ourselves. So we haven't had a heck of a lot of time to look it over. But we're just going to kind of hit the highlights from here. Everyone that wants a copy, there is a copy. This will be emailed out to the residents and also posted online. Again, we wanted to wait as long as we could before we closed down the survey. So there's lots of responses that were in the text response boxes. We're not going to go over all those because there's really a lot and we could be here a very long time. But they're going to be for people to review and see. So I'm just going to have Kim hit the highlights of the questions and the responses. Maybe give the
top three.
The top three would be great, Kim. I'm going to try to get Dave on, and we'll go through this, and then we would love any questions, concerns, thoughts, or comments. Thanks, Kim.
All right. So starting with the first one, why do you enjoy living in Lyman? The top three responses were small town atmosphere, quality of life, and access to large towns or service centers. So all of those responses were between 45% and 82% were the range of people responding for those as being their top answer choices for why people enjoy living in Lyman. Some of the comments that people made talked about low property taxes, affordable to own acres of land, growing up here, out of city limits, a rural setting. So it goes right in line with those top responses. You can see there's been a lot of comments.
That's not unexpected, though.
What?
I say those responses are not unexpected.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of them are, repetitive, rural, close to family, talk about lakefront. What was that?
Rural, quiet, space, seems to be a recurring theme in these.
Yeah, privacy, peace, small.
Just so everyone knows, I'm putting Dave on my phone because he can't hear us through Zoom. So if he's going to go on mute, I'm just going to leave this open so he can hear the meeting. All right.
I can hear you now.
Okay, Dave, I'm going to put you on the table on the end here.
Yep. Beautiful. I love technology.
Right in
Thanks,
his seat,
Dave.
right
What
in
a
your
word.
usual
Hi,
spot.
all.
I'll let you continue, Kim, too.
Okay.
Keep going.
So on question number 2, in the future, how important is it to have the following available to you? And the choices here, people were choosing all that apply. So the top 3 responses, with 72% open space and whole and wildlife acres, again, it really coincides with question number 1 quite extensively. Improved in-town roads was at 46.3%. And then following right behind that was good school system, combined fire, police, and rescue protection.
Oh, no, actually, bike paths
No,
and trails.
sorry,
is
bike
that-
paths and trails.
Yep.
With combined fire, police, and rescue protection, about 2% below that. And then good school systems, about 4% below that.
Hmm.
So if we look at just even the top 5, aside from open space and wildlife areas, those next 4 are all within close percentages of each other.
Mhm.
Where is our current municipal sewer system located?
Excuse, our sewer, we don't have one. That's something that's being looked at as the comprehensive plan is looking into the land use survey map is being looked at. This was a survey grab from another town, so a lot of these are put on there, but there's also the fact that as the town is looking at the land it has, is planning for way down the road for when you might need a sewer plant, you might need a water system. So they can conserve properties for that and also make sure there's things in place to protect water sources or protect a sewer area that would protect people around it. So someone doesn't build a house where you're like, hey, we're gonna put a sewer plant there and you're 3 feet, you're 50 feet from a sewage plant. So I think that's why this is on here. We just left these on here for the fact that, down the road, when maybe I'm long gone, my kid is here, maybe he's long gone. These things might be needed in this town. We just don't know. It's just pre-planning.
The wording was what threw me, because it
Yeah.
says extending municipal sewer
Yes.
system.
Yeah.
So,
Which
Correct.
infers that there's already one in
right,
place.
like I said, this was a survey we took from a neighboring town. And some of these things probably maybe not tweaked exactly to represent our town, but the premise of it was, these are things that potentially will be in our town in the future, and the land is being looked at for those purposes.
Yeah, those 2 words probably shouldn't have been there, extended and extended.
Extended.
Ron, you missed a net.
Sorry about that.
Oh, man.
But I think it's sort of interesting. I mean, bike trails, is that surprising to anybody? I don't know. Bike paths for trails?
No, because open space is also.
Sort of matches up with that.
I think open space is very important for the.
The in-town road thing is important, is interesting, only because we have all the roads that go down to the ponds. A lot of those are semi-passable, right?
Mhm.
Especially in the winter.
Mhm.
People are living there for emergency services, I'm saying.
I know you're absolutely right, Don.
And that's gonna be a problem. Because it's a money thing as well as.
Yeah, the town definitely has
I
some.
haven't noticed
catch
that
up
the
on.
roads are not improved,
You haven't noticed that they're not improved?
that they're not improved. No,
Well, I think that what he means is that
there's
a
paved
couple of
roads
years
all
ago,
over.
say, where Bunganut Field was very bad. It was full of
Yeah.
potholes, but it's been kept maintained since then. I mean, the last few years, they've done improvements.
I was thinking more in terms of roads that go down to the various ponds where some people live full-time, and that the access for
Private
emergency
roads.
vehicles is very limited.
Those are private roads,
They are, but
those aren't really in
you know.
town, are they? If they're
No, unfortunately,
in town would be like around here.
yeah. No, the town has no responsibility for those roads, to my knowledge. We don't, do we plow? I don't think we plow.
No, we don't.
It's gotta be
I mean,
private.
the public is still allowed on them. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
posted, don't trespass, but it's, I see what you're saying.
That would be a different question. That would be.
Yeah, well, that would be
That would be
access
extending
to,
more
fire
public
rescue.
roads,
Yeah.
turning private roads into
That would
public
be,
roads.
that would be, well, I think that would be more so along the lines of, fire and rescue
Yeah, I was
questions.
just
It would go
thinking
towards there about
emergency
roads that are not completely, like how some of the ordinances have changed, like road standards.
yeah.
Maybe private road standards is something that has to be looked at for the safety of, if the fire trucks can't get down there during the winter.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, Don, that's
Yeah,
something to,
But it's nothing, I mean,
right,
you change it, it doesn't, it shouldn't be, it's not retroactive.
Right,
anyway,
exactly,
so
they're
maybe that's
grandfathered.
a problem. Okay, anyway,
But
sorry.
maybe for future things being built that, you should be able to make sure the fire truck can get
I
down there.
would think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Hope
Yeah,
so.
I agree with you, Don.
Hope so. Thank you. Don't let it get out to be a habit.
Go ahead.
So then in question number 3, what is a serious challenge facing Lyman in the next 5 years? So number 1 was tax increases at 61%. Number 2 was maintaining a rural character at 56.3%. And number 3 was maintaining open space at 43.3%.
I'm surprised that need for affordable housing isn't higher.
Yep.
That's what, I mean, the others I would say are pretty obvious.
Well, I think also the fact that increased demand on town services isn't higher, because that's gonna be, I mean, look at what's happening now with our services. It's already something that's becoming kind of an issue, that's gonna need to grow.
Yeah.
I think last time too, when we had like 200 responses, need for affordable housing wasn't as high, and we wondered if it was because it was a statewide problem. If people didn't see it as a Lyman problem, it's a statewide problem. We wondered if people didn't
Yeah.
rank it as high.
It is, it is a statewide. problem,
Right.
No
Yep.
question about it.
Yeah,
I think also it's the older demographic in the town population is older and
Correct.
they're less likely, unless they're answering for their children,
correct.
to
I think there's a housing problem.
use that question as a big talking point.
Yeah,
Whereas it's more of a, like you said, statewide, it's more.
You know, affordable housing is counter to the rural character and open space. I mean, when you build affordable housing, you are taking out open space, you are building density, and you're going counter to rural character. You know, you're not gonna build affordable farms to maintain rural character.
Well, even affordable housing is not affordable housing, so that's kind of a moot point. I mean, even like the one that's going in Kennebec, I just saw, they said it was affordable housing, and your median income had to be 87,000, which is bizarrely enough. It says the average person from Lyman makes $84,000 a year. So that's kind of a bizarre. I don't know how that worked out in the results, but it did.
well, there is did pass the changes to the ADU, adding ADUs.
Right, correct.
Accessory dwelling units, which could be a partial answer
And that
to
wouldn't
increasing
explode the
housing.
town either. Yeah, I mean, we already have the ability, because there was some comment made, I think, at one point, that we can't have multi-units, and that is in the ordinances, that's already there.
Yeah,
There are things, but we haven't had an explosion on it, so it's not like,
I mean, if you look at Alfred's example, they have right on the main road there, they have affordable housing, and it's not in a large area. And it was done nicely.
right,
But
It
That's-
removed a cornfield,
But that
so
said,
that takes away from rural character.
it does have to be put somewhere. Where is that somewhere in Lyman? Because
Right.
Lyman's, I mean, if you think about it, there's a lot of open space, but that's because of zoning, 5-acre zoning, and it's people's yards or woods or woodlots. It's not
I mean,
like there's a lot of.
there's a big residential, not huge, there's a small residential that's there, but then you have the fight of they're near certain roads, and hey, I'm actually in the commercial zone, I want it to be 5. It's unfortunately, there can be legal issues that come along with that too. I think the biggest thing for all of us is we're looking for affordable housing, you're thinking if you're elderly, that maybe you need a place to be able to easily access services, which probably be 111. A main route, so they're not stuck way out where they can't get out, they can't get to services, because we don't have a pharmacy, we don't have a post office, we don't have a package store, we don't have.
well, you got a package store.
We do not? True story.
No, you go right down here to the corner, you can buy what you want.
No, like package, like meal.
Oh, mail, I'm saying a mail package, sorry.
I'm just.
I
Photocopy
agree with what you're
center.
saying. I agree with what you're saying
Finish what
about
you're-
affordable senior housing, but if you
Correct.
want affordable housing for young families, that's a whole different.
No,
thing.
not in the acreage we have in this town, it's not affordable at all. There'd be no way. We'd have to lower the lot put to 0.5 acres to do that for
But
affordable
even if you
housing.
were able to buy a large piece of land property that came up for sale with like 20 acres and built cluster housing on it,
Mm.
it would still be not.
It would not be affordable,
when you-
not
after you pay
correct.
for the land.
Well, not only that, but the price of materials. My husband's in the construction industry and like he dies when he sees what a piece of plywood is now compared to
we
what it
just-
was just 3 years ago. It's like quadruple. So for anyone to even build a house on top of the price of the land here, it's never going to be affordable. Even I grew up in Lake Arrowhead. So, and that became the only affordable place to live in Waterboro for a very long time. Your acres were 0.25,
The only way,
0.5.
the only way you're gonna get affordable housing in would be to have it subsidized somehow.
Correct. And that's something that's our state. I don't know if they're working on that.
Well,
I don't
Lake
think right
Arrowhead,
now
you
there's
have
gonna be
to,
more
you have to layer on the community fees,
Correct. And they've gone up through the years, but because they have their own water source and it's
Right.
half of the Lake Arrowhead's located in Limerick, half of it's located in Waterboro. They have their own club, they maintain their own roads, but they still pay taxes to the towns. And that's what's interesting. So they're paying their fees in their tiny community, but they're still paying the same tax base to the towns, but the towns won't touch them for services. I grew up there for 17 years.
Mm.
So it's interesting.
But
I grew up there when no one
provide
lived
emergency
there.
services, don't they?
They have to go there for emergency services, yeah, but there's maybe one paved road now out of the 65 miles of dirt road. I think there's one, maybe two paved,
Yeah.
besides the main one that goes through.
New Dam Road.
Well,
Okay.
that, but Old Portland Road was paved.
The old
Years
Portland
ago.
Road is a
Yeah.
private one.
No, that's not private. That's the big one that goes in. That's part of their community. But they take care of that and they take care of New Dam Road. They take care of all of that. I don't think the town maintains that because it goes all the way through to Limerick. I think that's part of theirs. I could be wrong, but Old Portland Road's definitely Lake Arrowhead and is paved.
It's private. It's owned by Lake Arrowhead. It's not owned by the town of Waterboro.
Correct.
That would
Yeah.
private.
So I mean, you look at that, I mean, they've made it work, but it's, you can pass the Grey Poupon. Pond. I mean, you seriously can. I grew up there where there was 3 houses on the road. And in the end, by the time we left 17 years later, there was 75. There was 3 kids on the school bus that went there. By the time I left, they had to have 3 buses coming in to bring the kids back and forth to school.
Yeah, I think a third of the population of Waterboro lives in
Correct.
Lake Arrowhead. Yeah.
And I mean, that's something I never want to see happen here. I mean, that's the way it was set up. It was meant to be a retirement resort, but that's not what happened with Lake Arrowhead.
But that was for the mafia.
It was. That was my understanding.
Is that part of your heritage?
It is, apparently. No, I keep them yoked on.
Well, it's an experiment and it's, there's a lot of people living there.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
so,
And it's affordable.
It gives you, in
not
Lyman,
really
it gives us a choice, if we want that or not.
But you look at the price of housing even in there now, and I wouldn't exactly consider that affordable either. Like the values of the houses over there, and then what they have to pay for fees. I think in general, the whole world is suffering from affordable. Hi, Suzanne, good to see you.
Do you want a cookie? Why are you here?
They're very yummy.
Well, there's affordable housing, but it's in Cleveland, Detroit, and Milwaukee.
Not here.
Flint is full of affordable housing. I was out in Flint,
Yeah.
You could own a whole street load for what you pay for one house around here.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is we're looking to follow, the best we can, the rules and regulations the state is trying to pass down. This is really hard.
Right.
Keeping with the character of what the town people want, and we're really depending on Southern Maine Planning to help guide us in this process, because they've helped the towns nearby. And that's why we're collecting this data and information from them so that we can say this is what the people are thinking, so then it can go to a town vote, and that's the biggest thing, is we know that there's a lot of strong feelings on both sides, actually. So it's just getting this information out there. I will preface these surveys by the one thing that I will, and it is true, because we can't, the way our survey service we use, we cannot track how many times someone takes these surveys. We can see people taking it multiple times. It is available for it to be seen.
Right.
But the problem with that is, if you're signed up for town email and you forward it from your email for someone else to take it, your email just shows up, not theirs. So it's really difficult to track when you see someone's taken it a couple times, multiple times. Is it really them? Or did they forward the email? It's very difficult to tell, but it can be seen if someone's taken it more than once. So it's difficult to know.
And it defeats the whole
And it does.
process if,
Yes. And so it's very sad to say that out loud, but it is true. There probably is a survey we can put out that, you could track it better, that is actually, but that's why this all just needs to go to a vote, because then everyone's being handed a ballot. And you know it's them. That's the hard thing with these surveys. So these are the results we're getting. We're hoping people were honest, but that's all we can hope for. But you can see in the database that it makes you wonder.
Hmm.
You know, and that's factual. You can FOIA it. I'm not saying it's out of turn. It's out there. We don't have it here. We're not going to release that because that just causes angst and
Release
upset and.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, oh, I forwarded it.
If, you
to
know,
my
and that's just
husband.
it. Like, that's why I'm
So-
just saying it with a grain of salt that, you know, we don't know how accurate these are. We're hoping they're as accurate as
What
we
you
can.
got?
That's all we have.
Moving right along.
Moving right along.
Right. Like Michelle said, knowing that I had my in-laws do a paper copy
Yeah.
rather than have them do it on my email, because they don't use technology,
Yep.
you know?
And the paper copies that were collected are in the survey results.
Oh, we got.
Yes, yeah, the town manager inputted them into the database for us.
Are you continuing to do, or are you closed now?
This survey is closed right now.
Okay.
I mean, there still could have been more that came in and we don't know what. I haven't asked. We literally just got this. She just shut it down. What's today? Saturday?
Yeah.
I think she shut it down Monday or Tuesday. We literally just got this. Because she had to compilate it for us because it didn't do it for her. The program didn't bring in the other responses that were given.
Okay.
So it had to be done in a different format for us to get it. So we literally just, it's hot off the press. We haven't had time to look at it. So this is fresh for us going over it with everyone hearing it. We do hope down the road to do another survey. Well, we're gonna take survey 1 and survey 2, come up with some more questions. There's environmental stuff we want to ask because that's part of the comprehensive plan, and other things. So there will hopefully be more. We're not, trying to beat a dead horse, but we want input on all the different areas the comprehensive plan requires us to get information on.
So how desirable are the following for Lyman's future? So limit growth to areas was the top answer with 56.7%. Keep town about as it is at 47.7%. And then both of these were at the same 23.3%. Village and town growth that is walkable and encourage more commercial development in specified areas of town.
Well, the walkable development and commercial development specified areas count. I'm sure everybody here is familiar with the development that took place in Biddeford along Route 111, Alfred Street there. What's the name of it?
Shopping centers.
All the shopping centers.
Bedford Crossing.
Biddeford Crossing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I was losing that name. So that happened, and they went through great expense to reroute the highway exit and everything else to make that happen. But they didn't put in one sidewalk. And people are walking over that bridge. There isn't even a margin there.
Taking their life in your hands as you do that, yeah.
Who allows a development like that? And this is a time when we're trying to get people out of cars and get them to, you should be able to park once down there and shop all those stores on foot. And there's not a chance of that. The bus drops you off in a snowbank and you take it from there. So that was, to my mind, that was desperately poor planning.
I
And
think that's what we're trying to avoid here, because I agree with you.
well, that's why I'm
My
raising
son
my
is-
voice
son is-
right now.
My son is 9 and is a mom in her 40s and a child who hated his car seat. I thought twice before putting him in a car seat and driving to another store to go from Target to Staples. It's like the battle to get him in and out of that car seat. I was like, I'm done. So yeah, I didn't, but if I could walk with him, he'd be fine in a stroller, but I couldn't.
You can't.
I think that's something we're looking at here though, when we're saying, hey, we're looking at this, maybe it's required if you build this that you're gonna put in a sidewalk, because I looked into the laws around sidewalks and it's really interesting who's in charge of them, and that's a difficult spot. So it's like, it's unless it's on a public road and you can get the state to put it in, the town's on the hook for maintenance forever. And that's pretty pricey, and then clearing them and plowing them and salting them and sanding them. And even with a good department, and I speak from walking from a parking lot to the courthouse every day, sometimes it's pretty slippery out there.
And the town taxes them.
Yes. Yes, and maybe they shouldn't have required to put them in, but I think that's a really good thing
They
for
could have.
our ordinances in our comprehensive plan to think about is they strategically say, hey, this is a great commercial zone. Make sure, or like if something is, make sure those people do put in.
I mean,
Things
they
like
plow
that.
the roads, and if there's a problem with the laws of who maintains them, then that needs to be addressed. But to just say,
It's interesting.
oh, the sidewalks will have to be maintained, so we're not gonna have them, you're leaving out, you're excluding a whole group of people, which is growing. That's the group of people that can't afford,
Transportation.
yeah, individual transportation, you know, and like I say, if you take the bus up there to one store,
You're screwed.
you can't you can't put your car seat
Carry your
into the
bags.
bus again and
Well,
go
it
to the
would
next store.
encourage what the Europeans do, which is bicycling and walking.
So I think that's a great thing to look for, again, to look at ordinances after the comprehensive plan is developed, to create ordinances that require, that type of thing to, if businesses are coming in. Because I mean, comprehensive plan can't really address that, but ordinances can. So,
Biddeford Planning Board had the power in their hands, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when they built that place, and they chose not to exercise that power.
and then hopefully we'll be able to look at that as ordinances change after the comprehensive plan is done, with the data we get. And again, I do encourage anyone who does not have the link to the portal for all the data that was collected on our town this past, was it spring? By the Maine Agricultural and Environmental, I'm gonna forget the name. It's a total rabbit hole. It's fun, and you need a full-time job to get through it all. But it's fascinating, the data they collected on our town, and they do it for all towns. We requested that survey be done. It took a year. And it was released this past spring, I think in May. Anyone that wants a link, reach out. I'll get it to you. I think it's posted somewhere on the website as well. All the data is there, which is also, we've given to Southern Maine Planning. That's what they're working with. This is all data that's been collected on the town. It's for doing the comprehensive plan that we're looking at, including the surveys we're collecting to then hand to Southern Maine Planning. Do I want to know, Don?
No, I was reading some of the.
Responses?
I mean,
We're still on number 4.
yeah, but I'm talking about the open text responses.
Oh, I think we're on 5 now, Kim? Is that where
Yeah,
we're
we'll
at?
move it to 5. I was going to say on sidewalks too, if we look to a town more comparable like Waterboro, I don't know if anybody ever noticed, but when they redid their sidewalks right on Main Street, they shortened them all. And that was based on the expenses that it was costing the town for maintenance, for plowing and all of that. So they actually shortened the extent that they had their sidewalks through Main Street.
And that's in South Waterboro, or?
And right on Main Street in Waterboro.
Okay.
Yeah, by the milk room and,
Mhm.
yep, so all those sidewalks were shortened. They didn't go the distance that they
Used to.
typically had gone.
It's unfortunately a sign of the time in the tax base. You don't know where to cut. And then you get flack. It's a hard place to be.
So they don't even
Especially since
extend to
there's
the
schools
banks
out
now.
there, too.
Yeah, because a lot of kids walk from the school to the milk room and cross and hang out there and walk down.
That's really the main, and then to the
Correct.
store, they go as far as the Family Dollar.
Yeah, you're right.
Then in front of the church, and that's about just a little ways down, and that's
Yeah,
it now.
that's it now. Yeah,
But they used to extend all the way down almost to Biddeford Savings.
Didn't it go to
Yep,
Lions?
to the-
The Lions Club, I thought.
Yep, the Lions Club, and they no longer do.
Yeah, I saw that. It's sad. Yep. All right, number 5, Kim?
Number 5,
Thank
which
you.
of the following types of commercial development would you desire for the town? So at the top of the list were restaurants at 48.3%. Right behind that at 41.3% was agricultural producers and farm retail stores. And then there were a lot that fell within the high 20%, like essential services, 28.0%. That's healthcare, emergency, sanitation. Then we also had like personal services, hair salons, cleaning services at 26.7%. None of these also fell at 26.7%.
And 22 was actually light industry, which was interesting, which again was food and beverage production, small manufacturing,
Yeah.
textile manufacturing, et cetera.
Can I make kind of a comment observation? I think it's interesting, I don't know if you've listened to some of the brainstorming ideas that our new health and Human Services Federal Director has had, RFK Jr., he wants to have wellness farms for people who are trying to come off of drugs, both, legal pharmaceutical ones. It's difficult to come off those. But also, obviously the illegal ones too. And he really feels organic farms and having wellness farms where people can be busy working on the farm and detoxing.
Wow.
And we have such amazing water here. And if we have good soil, obviously we'll make sure there's no PFAS pollution on our soil.
Yeah.
It's just that it kind of matches,
Yeah.
because you could have a restaurant with it maybe. So just that it's kind of hot off the
Or
press.
a
brand new
a
idea.
farm stand with it, like people are asking for.
Yeah, so just
Interesting.
be aware that there might
Yeah.
be amazing funding for Lyman wellness farms.
Right, I think the definite thing to look at is like start ordinances, look at the town land, again, that's where they're looking for potential future fire departments, potential water and sewer down the road, maybe potential, something like that, if it seems like there's something that's working and can work,
Yeah,
you
so
know?
just keep an eye on that,
Yeah.
that
That's
possibility.
interesting, Suzanne, thank
Yeah.
you, fascinating.
There was such a thing in Newfield that was run by the York County Shelter Program. It's since been.
And
When was that?
100
Was that a
Not too
time
long ago.
Not too long ago?
Yeah.
10 or 15 years ago, not that long ago.
Huh,
I know even
do you
100
know what
years
it was
ago,
under?
you see those signs called Four
Funding.
Farm Roads. That's how people historically, they had those farms to help them provide their own food, and obviously kind of different, but kind of the same. In our case, I think it's more, we need to get our people healthy again and have places for them to go.
Mhm.
So,
Very nice, Suzanne, thank you.
you're welcome.
So question number 6, which of the following types of residential development would you desire for the town? So at number 1, 59% single-family detached homes. Then behind that, senior housing at 35.3%. Single-family attached duplex or townhouse style housing at 30.3%. And again, not far behind that, none of these.
After the kick out of that one, I'm like,
27%.
okay. No one should live here. Number 7.
So the only problem with single-family housing is that it's so expensive. And it takes a while for subdivisions to get approved, and even when they're approved, there are only like 10 houses usually, even with cluster. Last couple of them, and that, I can say this, I guess I can, I don't care. I'm old. But, no, I mean, they're not on the best land either, when you look at them. Some of them, I mean, I'm not trying to be offensive, I'm just saying, looking at
Yeah.
where some of the subdivisions are,
And then
because the people who have the good land are not wanting to sell it. Good flat land, I'm talking about some of them that have wetlands and things like, which is legal under the ordinances, et cetera, they meet the requirements, but it's pretty hard to get a large quantity of single-family housing being built.
Yeah.
And I don't see that changing, just for cost.
Well,
Go ahead.
Yes,
Just
Joe.
maybe more consideration being given to modular homes.
Yeah,
Now, is it true, and I haven't looked this up, I haven't done the dig on this, but I have heard that the difficulty with modulars is they're not insuring them.
I've not-
There's a new law because of their R factor rating and how they build them, and something to do with the electrical. And I wish I could remember, but there was 2 people that tried to put a modular here and they were shot down because they couldn't get insurance.
but like,
Insurance
is it
companies are-
modular or mobile?
I don't know.
Is it-
I live in a modular home and I have insurance, I can assure you.
No, recent, new
We
ones,
live
the
in
new
a
law.
factory-built house. When you
It's a
say
modular,
modular,
Yeah, no, but the
when you
new
say
ones.
modular, ours is on a foundation, et cetera.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people think like single wide, double wide.
Oh, yeah, no,
It
I'm
was
talking
built in 4
modular
modules
too.
and assembled on site.
Right,
Different
but there's the
terms
new
that
law that came
people
out, and there's a new
I was gonna say, there's
adoption.
2 going in town. There's
Yeah,
one on
but there was
Walker
something
Road.
weird
It's
that.
Well, I
just
wanted
about
to say-
done.
Yeah,
and there's
I'm just
one-
saying, I'm just curious, because I know someone mentioned that, I'm like, I don't know, I never did the dig on it, I don't know, that's just what was
There's one
said.
next door to us that just went in.
I don't have time to research this weekend, but I'll peek
Yeah.
into it. Or if anyone's listening and heard me say that, correct me, please. If you spoke to me and told me that, because I don't know.
Well, my volunteer work at Habitat, they've been going with the modular homes.
Yeah.
Bringing that number of them. Over to Cape Porpoise, there were a couple of these that a bunch are going to be placed in Springdale.
Right.
And
was-
I heard nothing about
There's something about the new,
right down the road from us,
Was- was-
where the Pratt House was,
HIH.
Brick House. They
national.
installed a modular extension on that just a few months ago.
That's why I'm questioning whether people are thinking like a single wide that's not, you know, insulated versus a factory built home, which is like
Factory
a
built.
stick built
rules
home
in the
and
town
then
about the rules.
just built in the factory and then put on the foundation.
They're built to code.
It's a different thing though.
They're built to code, the insurance company got no problem.
Like I said, it
Yeah,
was
anyway.
either mobile or modular, but it was one of those, and there was something about there's difficulties with insurance, and I thought it was something about, and again, because you think like, we're not up to what the whole United States is up to, like, I think we just adopted whatever code we adopted. But there's always codes that aren't adopted by Maine or by a certain state or a certain town, so that's our difficulties, there are codes and regulations that could make what you're trying to do defunct. Because they're not adopted yet, but they could be, and then you're like, oh, nuts, what are you gonna do now? But let me, ignore that, I'll look into it, if I come up with anything at our next meeting, I'll correct it and, get the answer on that, because I'm curious, let me write myself a note.